Hello, investors. This is Todd Thomas, Associate Portfolio Manager with Revere Asset Management. Today is Saturday, October 4th. The time is 9:12 a.m. Coming to you from Boca Raton, Florida to bring you the Revere Roundup Weekend Walkthrough. State of the market, coveted four green up arrows. Overall, very strong week of new highs on all the major indexes. There was some turbulence in the larger cap stocks as well as some of the large cap leaders, which we'll get into in the charts. Uh, for the most part, everything looks strong with all indexes trending above the short-term 21-day exponential moving average, the 50-day regular moving average, as well as the 200-day moving average. Last week, we hit all-time highs on all indexes with small caps once again leading versus large caps and strong breadth across the board. Going through the indexes, the Big Eight, which is the Mag 7 plus Netflix, was the only measure we follow that was down. It was down 0.59%. The RG8 was up a strong 2.48%. S&P up 1.09, with the RSP, which is the equal weight S&P versus the cap weight S&P, up 1.42%, showing a strong participation amongst the individual members. Qs were up 1.21%, but the equal weight was up more at 1.68%, showing strong movement across all the members of the NAS 100. The Dow, that should be positive. I apologize, up 1.10%. Midcaps up 0.65, still unable to break out. But the Russell continues to break out through last year's highs as well as highs from 4 years ago, now up 1.72%. 60/40 up 0.98, and GROTECTION with a strong week up 3.12%, and Turbo with a decent week up 2.28%. What happened last week? Again, we climbed into new high territory despite the government shutdown. Bitcoin and Ethereum rebound, with Bitcoin making new all-time highs on Friday. Fed rate cut odds for the October 29th and December 10th meeting now showing rate cut odds of 96.2% and 86.3% after week ADP employment report, as well as the ISM showing stagnant growth. OpenAI is now valued at more than $500 billion after the latest funding round closed. Pharma stocks surge on the unveiling of Trump RX, which is a direct-to-consumer website that will let Americans buy low-cost drugs. The PPH, which is the pharmaceutical index, surged 8.17% on the week. This was a new addition to the GROTECTION portfolio, which did well. Gaming competitors, DraftKings and Flutter fell as new entrants came into the prediction markets, with Hood posting that customers have transacted more than 4 billion event contracts this year, with 2 billion coming from the third quarter alone. Hood surged 22% on the week. Tesla announced record deliveries of 497,000 vehicles, which was up 29.4% over the second quarter on a pull forward in demand as the September credits expired for 7,500. Orders are expected to plummet for the fourth quarter, and Tesla topped on the news of the strong deliveries. The Department of Energy announced the U.S. government will take a stake in Lithium Corp of America, 5% stake, and also invest in a 5% stake in their Thatcher Pass lithium project in Nevada. Meta announced a $14 billion deal with CoreWeave. Also, AMD is in talks to have Intel make some of their chips. There's a lot going on still in the AI department, as well as the government getting involved in national security moves again. Wanted to show this chart of the Russell 2000 seasonality trend. For the upcoming current fourth quarter, the small caps are shown here to be this is the best quarter for small caps, with November being by far the strongest month. And we've seen the last few weeks small caps outperforming. So this is good news as small caps broke the 2021 highs this week. New buys of top performing mutual funds, not a whole lot notable here. As a matter of fact, some of the big names that were showing new buys in the billions slowing down a little bit, including Celestica and Palantir. Overall, Banco Santander with 14 billion in new buys. Next Tracker continues to show up with a $1.4 billion in new buys, and I'll go with 1.7. Other than that, Alphabet continues AAR in the aerospace defense with 9.5 billion. Nothing else particularly notable. Earnings this week. I had said that her test equipment was supposed to report last week. Market Surge had that wrong, and they are reporting this week. This is a semi-equipment player we're watching, as well as Applied Digital, which has been a pretty strong stock. On the economic front next week, the big item here is the Wednesday FOMC minute notes coming out, and finally on Thursday, the University of Michigan consumer sentiment, as well as the Treasury budget. Heading over to the charts on the indexes, as well as the internet asset correlation. Let's go to the S&P 500. Again, up 1.09% on the week, and new all-time weekly highs on the close. If you look at the 5-minute chart, we did struggle on Thursday with a gap up and fade with a little bit of retracement on Thursday. And then on Friday, we gapped open, made new all-time highs into midday, and then sold off pretty abruptly midday. Not necessarily any particular news. Some major put buying, I guess, hit the tape. The news of that, but overall, still some strength in the RSP, up 1.4% as we gained further into new high territory here on the equal weight, basically for the last 6 or 7 trading days, which shows breadth improvement, which is a good sign. Q's up 1.2%, new all-time highs. Equal weights outperformed, up 1.72%, as that also, along with the RSP, was able to continue to get up into new high ground. Again, showing strength and breadth. Now up 1%, new highs there. Mid-caps still not able to get through these old highs from last year or these recent new 52-week highs. Would be nice to see some participation there, but still holding back at only up 0.65%. The Russell continuing, as we showed on seasonality, up 1.7%, also overcoming these highs from 2021 of 2459 basically, and closed at 2476. So gaining some momentum above those 2021 highs. VIX up 8.8% to 16.65 as the government shutdown increases the volatility slightly, but still in a manageable area. Dollar down 0.45% after getting above the 50-day moving average the week before last, and then coming back below that range. Gold continues up 3.14%. Gold miners up another 3.2%. Silver up 3.9%, approaching the 2011 highs. Bitcoin new all-time highs, up 12.7% on the IBIT. And Ethereum up 12.4%, still off the highs, but a strong week, building a nice base here. Now going into the bond prices were up slightly, up 0.13%, indicating yields were lower. TLT was up 0.54%. That's also a price indicator. The 30-year Treasury bond yields were down slightly. Let's see, at 4.71. And the 10-year yields were down about 6 basis points at 4.19%. Mags down slightly, but individual name-wise, Apple still building this nice base, up 1% on the week, looking to potentially break out here shortly. Amazon, flat week. Microsoft up 1.15% in this base. Meta down 4.46%, losing the 50-day moving average the week before last, and closing at the low end of this 11% range, building a little bit of a base here. NVIDIA, actionable as it broke out of this flat base, up 5.29% on the week and into a new all-time closing high on the week. Google just tight this week, down about 0.5%, and Netflix down 4.7% as some people are canceling their memberships on some controversial content. Tesla backed off 2.4% on the week after 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks, and then a reversal on the delivery news. but held the 21-day EMA and closed mid-range on Friday. So overall, Tesla's run looks to be intact, and this appears to be a normal sell-off. And that is it for the inter-asset correlation. Let's take a quick look at the weekly ETFs. EPH, a new name for GROTECTION. You can see this has been an extremely long base of over a year now of 22%. Don quickly recognized on the Trump RX, took a position in the PH as it broke through this range, and that continued on to be a very nice gain for GROTECTION this week. Biotechs led with a 7% gain, also in quite a long base here, 53 weeks over a year. Coming up into the high end of that base here and definitely looking strong here. XLV, the healthcare sector, also continued to lead up 6.8%. Solar, another good week, continuing in its new stage 2 uptrend of 5.9%. And robots up 5.45%. So very strong there. On the downside, let's see. Not too terrible here. Let's see. Let me resort that. Just going down. Retail was a little bit weak, down 0.7%. Uranium gave. I'm not sure what my sorts were. Oh, that was on the day. I don't have a weekly in here. Sorry. Did the wrong sort, but again, on the week, let's look at the biggest losers here. Oil services gave back about 2%. Oil and gas exploration, 3%. Energy down 3%. So really oil the loser on the week on the ETF front. All right, so let's go into, wanted to quickly go through the tech leaders. There was some turbulence in the tech leaders. Bloom Energy was up 28% this week. That was very strong. CLS, which is been extremely strong, lost the 21-day moving average this week. So some of these larger cap names that have been really strong, that was down 4% on the week. A-Lab was up 1.5% on the week. Did not get back above the 21-day moving average, but did bounce off of the 50-day moving average midweek. So again, most of these names were very extended, and that held the 10-week moving average. So building a little bit of a base here. AppLovin a reversal on the week, but still managed to close up 1.93% as that got extremely extended. Palantir down 2.53%, also lost the 21-day moving average and closed just shy of the 50-day moving average. So definitely some turbulence in here. Light, which is a Toddzilla holding, up 1.9% on the week. I did do some more offensive selling on this name this week, midweek, as it looks like it's a little bit tired and ready to build a potential base. Rambus also down 2% on the week, but Hood stood out up 22% on the week. So that's a quick review of some of the larger cap tech leaders. Oh, Reddit. This was a Toddzilla holding. Sold half on this break of the ADMA last week, and then was holding for a hold of the 50-day and 10-week moving average, but it crashed below that this week on news that OpenAI searches were down, and that closed below the 50-day. So automatic sell on the rest of the gain in Reddit. Uranium, oh, that was an error here. So let's go into the watch list and get through that. Once again, sorted by biggest gainers on the week. In the uranium and rare earth area, USAR was up to a huge breakout of 50% on the week. ASTS Space Mobile gained 38% on the week, broke out of a nice cup with handle base midweek. SanDisk, we previewed this last week as a high tight flag. That was up 32% this week. Some monster moves here. Peabody Energy in the coal area up 30% this week. Added this to the watch list a couple weeks ago, and that's looking extremely extended, but it broke out basically almost to the all-time highs of March of 22, so pretty big few weeks there. RGTI continued. This quantum group has been extremely strong. We added these names about 3 weeks ago, up 28%. Bloom Energy's been on the list for a long time. This battery maker up 24%, EOS Energy out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. AVAV, a Toddzilla holding, up 24% this week. Drone manufacturer took some offensive sells on this on Friday into strength here. Still hold a partial position, but this has been an extremely strong gain. This was bought on the break of the 50-day moving average and sold a partial up there, but still extremely strong. QBTS, another quantum name, up 22%. Applied Digital, this is a name that was up 22% and showing some strength coming into the 2021 highs. Again, Robinhood, we did some offensive selling there this week. Let's go back to Hood to show you. This got 3 ATRs extended above that 21-day moving average on Friday, 16% above that 21 EMA. So GROTECTION and Toddzilla took half our positions off this week. Rocket Lab, really one of the better looking charts here, broke out nicely on Friday. And that has been a leading name, up 25% on, or 21% on the week. Symbotic, with a relative strength making new highs, up 21% on the week. And just into the pivot zone of this cup with handle base. Pretty deep handle of 19%, but this is a volatile name. But this is a leader in robotics. And coming up into these all-time highs. So this is definitely a name to watch as, you do get some backfill sometimes. And this level was, let's see, the high here was 64.14 and got up into that 64.16, just slightly overcame it. And then this week took another shot at it. So this could stage a powerful breakout through those all-time highs. So keep an eye on that name. IREN, which we sold out of the week before last at 48.5, went on to basically pull back to its 8-day moving average, and that's all it did, and made new all-time highs, up 20% on the week. Micron, this is a Toddzilla name and a TurboTection name, up 19%, extremely strong. I did take some profits on Friday on this, did some offensive selling in it. Data up 19%. Recall, this was a name I put on the list a few weeks back as it showed up on my monthly winners list. It was up last month about 84%, and this month so far up 7%. So that's continuing and looks extremely strong. Nebius up another 18%, just monster gains here. Tempest AI looking actionable after backing off of its old highs. And, again, got up into this area, which we often see backed off, now overtaking that area again. So extremely strong looking action. Seagate just continues up another up another 16% this year for this week. Veritiv broke out this week up 15.57%. And this looks extremely good here as it set up into a nice stage 1 cup with handle and broke out of that on Wednesday. So this is still pretty much in the actionable zone and looks pretty decent. Oklo up 15%. Shopify, new name on the list, as OpenAI announced chatbots that will integrate with Shopify and Etsy, as consumers can go online and find the cheapest prices. So it sent Shopify out of this nice cup with handle base here on big volume on Friday. This is actionable and looks very good with a new catalyst. AI now driving more business to their customers' websites. Lam Research up 13%, extended. NNE in the nuclear area up 13% and potentially actionable here as it broke back up into this cup with handle buy zones. Etsy was the other name, relative strength making new highs, entering a potential new stage 2 uptrend here on the ChatGPT OpenAI news. Let's see. Centrus up another 12% this week. Solaris, this is a name we previewed for the last couple of weeks, up 12%. CoreWeave, a Toddzilla, GROTECTION, and TurboTection holding, riding the 8 EMA now. Slightly down on Friday, but overall a tight week, up 12% nonetheless, as they signed a deal with Meta this week, which caused a gap open on Monday that basically traded tight all week. I increased my position in this also this week. SoundHound up 11% on the week and looking pretty good here. This is an AI sound, as the name says, with many leading restaurants and large vendors. This is definitely the leader in voice-activated AI. Kratos Defense continued with another 11% extended. TerraWolf also looking good into new high ground, another data center name up 10% on the week. ACMR, which is a semiconductor equipment manufacturer, up 10% on the week. Alibaba, Atadzilla, and TurboTection Holding, basically up another 9%, continuing to hold that and ride that trend. IONQ up 8.9% in the quantum. This area has been strong. CEG added this week. This is a producer, largest nuclear energy producer in the United States, broke out of a cup with handle, but squatted a little bit on Friday, up 8.6% on the week. ASM continues to build this giant cup base, relative strength making new high. This is the leading semiconductor equipment company in the market. It is up 8.4% on the week, building that cup base. Another semiconductor equipment maker, CAMT, up 8% on the week. PPH, again, we'll preview this in the GROTECTION buy. Baidu continued up another 8% in China. This and Alibaba are the leading China names right now. CELH Celsius up 7.92%. Again, held that 65-day exponential moving average down here, which is not shown. Overcame the 50-day moving average, previewed this last week as actionable on that reclaim of the 50, and gained 7.92%. Looks good. Very strong triple-digit earnings and sales. Teradyne, another semi-equipment maker, strong. Dell showed up on the list this week, up 7%. SailPoint building a nice base here. This is an IPO. That cup with handle with a right side extension there. Watching that for a potential breakout. Oust building this 27% base, up 7% on the week. This is a LiDAR sensor manufacturer, and that overcame the 21-day moving average. Again, we've been seeing these bases where they cut through the 21 after taking shots at highs, and then you can buy that reclaim of the 50-day moving average. So that's one to potentially watch on a pocket pivot above the 50-day moving average. Taiwan Semiconductor continuing, Century Aluminum continuing, Sienna. Again, this is a name up another 6.7%, still below the 2020 highs, but definitely leading in the telecom equipment fiber optic area. AMAT, again, continuing to distance itself from the buy zone, up 6%. Interactive Brokers, relative strength making new highs. This is potentially actionable. Carmen, new IPO, which is continuing. Next Tracker, up 5.5%. Extended now, but this is the leading solar name. B1 Medicine in the cancer area. This is a very powerful stock, up 5.4% on the week and continues to trade tight. Out of all the pharmaceutical companies, this is definitely a leader. And again, showing extremely strong triple-digit earnings and 36% sales growth. Very nice. Pure Storage trading tight, up 5%. Corning Glass continues up 5.31%. As the data center fiber build-out and network build-out is moving in full force. SiteTime, another semiconductor equipment maker, trading in a 3-week range here, up 5%. Insight building a base. This is a biomed, trading really tight here, so put it on the list this week as something to watch, as potentially actionable, above 88.60 area. Snowflake up 4.65%. That's a GROTECTION holding. Reclaimed this little shelf as it backed off from its earnings gap. So very nice little trend line break here on Thursday, and that's potentially actionable. Did squat Friday, but traded inside of Thursday's pocket pivot. D.R. Horton, the home builders resurgence sweep, up 4.6%, building this nice giant cup with handle base. So Dale definitely on the list again as a potential buy, as it did back off. This is a triple of the ITB, which reclaimed along this, basically traded along the 50-day moving average here for the last couple weeks and reclaimed the 8-day moving average. So that does look pretty good here. So let's go into full First Solar. Another leading for solar name with strong growth, up 4.6%. AEIS, this was up 4.5%. And that is a power conversion stock that Todd Zilla took a position in here early in the week early in the week this week. MP Materials up 4.18%. Continues to be a little choppy. Again, I got stopped out of this on the break below the 50-day moving average. Out of most of my position, did hold a partial and added back on the reclaim of the 50. So I'm in a full position on this, but was looking good Friday and showing a lot of strength midday, but then kind of came in pretty hard. So this is kind of a choppy name, but again, I do like it. Toll Brothers up 4%, building this giant cup with handle base, stage 1. Intel, Todd Zilla holding up 3.75% on the week and backed off a little bit on Friday. Tech in the building area up 3%. MRVL up 3.6%, trading nicely now above that 50-day moving average, 2 days tight on Thursday and Friday, 200-day still pointing down, but starting to flatten out. So I'm just watching that name. EQT, 3.6% in the natural gas area, building this nice cup base. Again, we talked about an early entry last week, and that looks pretty decent. CLAC, continuing. DoorDash, relative strength making new highs on the week, up 3%. BWXT building a really nice cup base. This is the government's leading supplier of nuclear reactors for the submarines and ships, as well as a potential developer of small modular reactors throughout the upcoming years. So that's a really nice cup base here that we're keeping an eye on. AMD tried to overcome that 50-day moving average, but squatted on Friday. I did take a position on this on Thursday at around 168 and a quarter. I'm down a couple percent on it, but I'm going to give it one more day or 2 more days to see if it can reclaim that 50-day moving average. Traded a pocket pivot on Thursday, but in typical AMD squirrely fashion, did squat back below the 50-day. But I do think that this is showing, again, this showed nice support at this area, had this nice reversal candle. I do believe that this is kind of trending in an upward direction, but may or may not work. We'll see. I've got about a 3% stop loss on that. Aher earnings next week. FIGR, new IPO I added to the list, up 2.68%. This is a blockchain consumer credit lender. So wanted to show this stock. EME still trading tight. Wayfair looks good. If the housing stocks pick up, this was up 1.97% in this very tight area. AppLovin extended, reversing on from the highs on the week. Light also extended, trading tight, but also reversing on the week. Pan American Silver strong. CrowdStrike building this cup with handle base. Astera Labs bounced off the 10-week this week, which we showed in the leaders. XPEV, a Chinese EV manufacturer. This is a name that was up 1.2%, but I'm watching out of this cup with handle base. Avgo, large cap, mega cap stock up 1.5%. Oracle backing off from the earnings gap. Not really following through, but holding the 21-day moving average. MDB, which we're watching, up 0.8% on the week. Williams building this nice base. Talked about that in the oil and gas area. And Credo backing off, still holding above the 10-week moving average, but really spent the whole week and a half below the 8-day moving average as well as the 21-day moving average. So looks to be building a base, and these are some of the extended names that are just taking a breather right now. Take Two looking okay. C just setting up here right now. RYTM in the biotech area, building a flat base. And this one backing off 1.14%. Largest U.S. producer of uranium. CCJ also backing off 1.65%. Airgain in the heavy construction reversed on the week, down 1.6%. Almet backed off from the pivot zone. And Tesla we talked about already. Palantir we talked about. Rambus we talked about in the tech leaders. Halliburton after this big up week giving back 3%. Again, we talked about how this 200-day is still downward sloping, and this may need some time, but nonetheless, early buy signal and potential rotation into the oil and gas area. And the gold miners strong, Baker Hughes backing off, CLS backing off, talked about that. Phillips 66. HSAI, this is a LiDAR manufacturer in China. That was down 4.9% on the week, below the 8-day and the 21-day moving average. So that was it. Again, kept some of those on the list as I do want to continue to monitor them. All right. That wraps up today's weekend review. Again, we appreciate subscriptions to our YouTube as well as our Twitter channels. My Twitter channel is at ToddMichael70. You can email me with any questions at todd@revereasset.com. If you'd like to become a client or have questions, our number is 855-REAL-WEALTH or 732-5932. Thank you and have a great weekend ahead.